It is. It is. Allow me to congratulate you on your growth. That sounds amazing. So Trezor turns 10 years this year. Yeah, I completely spaced out
Uh,
about this fact. Or
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually at the end of the last year. I think it's when we celebrated 10 years
oh,
anniversary.
congratulations! Happy
Yeah,
birthday!
yeah, for sure. So accidentally, I have one actually on my table here. I don't know if you're going to share the video, but this is how it looks. So it's sort of this tubular metal thing where you have sort of these little dots with letters on it.
Okay, so let's just start. I guess, Matej. First of all, thank you for agreeing to do this. It's been a while since we last met last year in Bitcoin Amsterdam. How have you been?
Right. So yeah, all good on Trezor sides. We are preparing products, which I guess we might talk about. So yeah, some exciting things ahead.
Yeah. So last time we saw each other, as I mentioned, was back in October 2023. And as far as I remember, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you had just relatively recently stepped in the position of a CEO of Trezor. So could you perhaps share a bit of your backstory? What were you doing before then? Because I know you were part of the company for a long time, but can you perhaps give us a bit of insight for our viewers? What were you doing before you became the CEO?
For sure. So when the last time we met, I think it was in October. So that was pretty much like 2-3 quarters of my role in the position, of the CEO.
Yeah,
So I'm just starting my basically second year this year, and I'm transitioned into this role from a basically chief product officer, which is like the ultimate product maker in the company.
yeah,
What I was doing before was basically the same thing, just in kind of more hands-on positions, more in, let's say, specific products. So I started as a product manager, then I was promoted to head of product, and then one thing led to another. So product making is my craft, right? So that's
yeah.
that's what I love to do the most. Um, and yeah, it's actually something where I'm still very much involved when it comes to sort of nailing down some product strategy of the company, and discussing products with all the product teams, because when I joined Trezor 5 years ago, we were 30 company. Now, all things considered, if everything goes well this year, we might be getting close to 200 people. So obviously, the company is getting bigger, but you're producing more products, new product lines, and things are getting more complex.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's exciting. I really like it.
It is. It is. Allow me to congratulate you on your growth. That sounds amazing.
Thanks.
What's it like to be the CEO of Trezor? How has your life changed since becoming? Yeah. And by the way, for those of our viewers who don't know, Trezor is like the OG hardware wallet company. So the first hardware wallet. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about how has your life changed since becoming the CEO?
So as a product manager, you typically are very much hands-on, and product managers are, I think it's best described as like a mini CEO of a given product, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
in some way, it's kind of similar. You tend to align all organizations around the product internally. So it'll be marketing, business, production, obviously engineering, design, etc. So these product managers tend to, kind of be kind of versatile personalities who need to kind of understand the in and outs of everything that goes into the
yeah,
product to make it successful. So in some way, it's pretty much the same. I'm like, my kind of thoughts on this are similar. I think what changed drastically is, I mean, obviously I talk to people like you much more often, because we need some, of course, we need to communicate to the public what are we
yeah.
after,
Of course, yeah.
we're doing. So that's something that has changed. But also, I'm way more on the strategic level of right? So I don't actually disallow myself to jump into really some tiny details in the product making, because I don't think that would be kind of time well spent on on the thing. I think I need to be more on the strategy, which I do. So that I think definitely changed, and obviously I have to look at things from this like higher level perspective, from what the market is doing, where it's getting, what
Yeah.
our competitors are doing, and mainly what our users want, right? Like, or actually, we even try to build things that they don't even know they want, obviously. So that's something kind of that's where the innovation process comes in, and that's where I'm involved as well.
Is that the tricky part? Figuring out what the user doesn't know he needs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. What helps there is basically intuition on looking on what's happening on the market, also our own intuition as users of the product, right? And
Right.
have some gut feelings about where this whole thing is going. So that definitely helps. I mean, I like to say also, when the founders of the company, basically 10 years ago, when they built the first hardware wallet in the world, the first Trezor, they didn't have proper like business plan and some market segmentations and stuff like that. No, it was just very pure, very strong needs that they were trying to solve some problem for themselves as the first users. And then they found this like amazing product market fit, where a lot of people actually thought there was a problem as well, the way you want to store securely private keys from Bitcoin, and yeah, and that's how the whole industry actually started. So I think it's good to combine intuition with also hard data. Of course, you have to work with real market data, and when you combine all these things together, that's where you kind of cook this like soup that is then at the end just like delicious and used by many in the markets.
So Trezor turns 10 years this year? Yeah, I completely spaced out about this fact. Or
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was actually at the end of the last year. I think it's when we celebrated 10 years anniversary.
congratulations. Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
thanks.
Belated, but happy birthday.
Thanks. So that was sort of when the company was sort of officially registered as a company.
Yeah. So walk us through what you guys have been up to, like your newest releases, and perhaps maybe some insight into what are you currently working on.
Yeah. So exactly. Again, when we last met in Bitcoin Amsterdam, we announced their a product we call Trezor Safe, and we also introduced Trezor Keep Metal, which is a way how we can store the seed phrase on this like metallic sort of tool. And as such, we introduced the Trezor Safe family as a range of products, and is no sort of, I guess, no surprise, and that we are, we will be launching new products in that range. So that's something we've been working on. We are also working on some other more advanced products that we will launch in the future as well. So that's something we are very excited about. And yeah, there is also one service that we are going to launch soon, but unfortunately I cannot.
So stay tuned. Okay, Matej, can you perhaps help me figure out some of the best practices for beginners who are looking to start their journey into self-custody? Because everyone who's read about Bitcoin knows that one of its strongest sides is the fact that you get to be the master of your own money, right? You don't have to depend on any central authorities for safekeeping, for transacting. But this can also be very challenging and dangerous. So could you perhaps walk us through some of the top of your head, the best practices for someone who's just looking to start in going to self-custody?
Right. So number one advice that I would probably give anybody, and my friends, like if I put it that way, somebody that I like and really care for as a good example, would be make sure you really understand what self-custody is about and how the storage of keys works. You don't need to know that, like, technically. You don't have to be an engineer for sure. That's why we are here as a company, to basically provide the tools that are easy to understand. But make sure that once you, and if I now go more specifically, once you write down your seed phrase, make sure you understand, you have to keep it, offline and safe from any access of other people, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you understand those like healthy practices of self-custody. And by the way, we have tons of educational materials around this, or even if you buy Trezor, you will get really nice manual where we explain all these things. But I think this sort of aha moment where you don't rely on any bank, where if you lose access to your bank account, then you simply, there's a way to recover it. That's simply not the case in self-custody if you really make some really big mistakes, such as storing that seed phrase online. So make sure you understand those things. And again, Trezor is specifically built in a way that we guide you through the process. So on the other side, don't be afraid of trying things out. I think it's also really start with hardware wallets straight away. They're now easy to use. That's really something we really focus on. And we will guide you through the process. You can start with maybe small amounts of Bitcoin or other crypto, and you can simply try it on. You can also try to recover your seed phrase, your private keys through the seed phrases and stuff like that. So yeah, I would just like say, make sure you understand what you are doing, but don't be scared, because it is easy.
Yeah, I think you touched upon something very important there. Start with your hardware wallet, because I feel like a lot of people are starting off with hot wallets and dabbling into different ecosystems. But I think the hardware wallet gives you the foundation of how to properly store your keys, right? Because it's completely offline. It's protected as long as you protect it. It's in your power to keep your keys safe. One question to that point, Trezor, does it support different kind of digital assets other than Bitcoin? So Ethereum, Solana, and whatnot. Do you guys offer support for altcoins in general?
Correct. Yeah. We started as a Bitcoin company, but now we are basically supporting all kind of other crypto, because it's simply, there are use cases where we realized basically majority of, let's say, the crypto hodlers or Bitcoin hodlers, even they at least own some bit of a crypto on the side as well. So that's something we kind of believe in, sort of these free market maximalism, that where simply when people want it, we think it's nice to provide that same level of security to all crypto users.
But I remember from Bitcoin Amsterdam that you guys had that orange little Trezor, which was just for Bitcoin holders, right?
Exactly. I mean, we started as a Bitcoiners. There is a strong Bitcoin community, obviously. So yeah, we have a specific range of products just for Bitcoiners if they don't want to see any other crypto in the interface of the app and in the firmware, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you can use that as well.
Okay. And you mentioned seed phrase recovery. This is one of the biggest questions, and like one of the horror stories, so to speak, when someone enters the crypto industry. Oh, you lose your private keys and your millions of Bitcoins are lost. So there's a lot of chatter about seed phrase recovery in the community. I know you guys offer Shamir, so it's, could you please walk us through what this is and how much of it is like, what's it possible in terms of recovering your keys without, and how much of it is like, do we have to compromise on trust in terms of, do we have to trust you to store or to know our keys so that you're able to recover them, or how does it work in general?
Yeah, so starting maybe with the last question, or the last part of the question, you don't have to trust us at all. We are actually building on top of, let's say, protocols that you can use with other companies. And even if you don't exist as a company, we always provide sort of tools and standards where you can recover your your keys even with being around. That's kind of the nature of a product we want to build. So specifically, Shamir Backup is sort of a multi-share solution. So what it does, that basically we talked about this seed phrase. So when you start using hardware wallet, specifically Trezor, it gives you this list of words, which we call seed phrase, and that's essentially a backup of the private keys. The private key being sort of a long Wi-Fi password, which Trezor makes it more human readable for you. So it translated into this easy to understand words, which you as a user write down. Now, that backup is really the core of the security of those private keys. So this backup, as I said, you never put it online, basically put it on a piece of paper or some other tools. You can talk about it as well, but like you simply store it on some place safe, be it somewhere in your home where nobody has access to, etc., etc. And what Shamir Backup, or this multi-share setup, does is it allows you to split that share into multiple shares, so you can distribute them in different locations. So for example, you can give one to your parents, you can maybe one store even in like some bank vault or whatever. You can put it somewhere in your cottage, or I don't know, like whatever the security model the best, you can distribute these shares. And in the Trezor hardware wallet interface, you can set up the sort of the minimum number of shares that you need to recover the master secret back. So basically that would mean, for example, you set up 3 out of 5 a scheme where you only need 3 out of all the 5 shares that you created to be able to recover those private keys from the crypto. So that's the Shamir secret sharing is basically a standard or protocol to enhance the security by distributing the single point of failure risk of that seed phrase.
It kind of sounds like a sort of a multi-signature approach, right? Where you need like a minimum number of signatures to authorize a transaction.
Correct. Only it doesn't happen at the let's say signature level. It happens at the seed, at the private key backup level. So we basically distribute the shares of that recover the private keys.
So. Yeah. And you mentioned implementing different systems of storing your keys. I remember you guys launched this very heavy metal thing where we were able to punch our seed phrase into. Can you talk us to what is it exactly, and can it survive a bolting accident or a fire?
Yeah, for sure. So accidentally, I have one actually on my table here. I don't know if you're going to share the video, but this is how it looks. So it's sort of this tubular metal thing where you have sort of these little dots with letters on it. And what you can do, you can basically, I mentioned these human readable words that Trezor gives you. So you can punch them into this metal thing. And the Trezor Keep metal is specifically made to be, super durable. We tested it against fire, acid, and and all those kind of things that could happen in real life. And we basically a tool that is more durable than paper, right? So paper is great, but like if your apartment accidentally, catches on fire, whatever exactly, then that will be pretty bad for your seed phrase, obviously written on paper. So this solution is simply more durable, and something we recommend our users to use because it's simply very protection against all kind of natural disasters.
So let me take you to a different direction. First, we just had the fourth halving. It's now in the history, so congratulations on that.
Likewise.
And thank you. And I won't bore you with predictions and this kind of stuff, but do you have sort of, something planned in your head in terms of how this cycle plays out? Do you have any ideas or perhaps speculations? Because we know that halvings are typically very positive for the industry. Historically speaking, of course, history is no indication what's going to happen. But do you have any, like, have you thought about how this particular cycle plays out?
Yeah, absolutely. We as a company tend to think in these 4-year cycles, bull market, bear market, I think as we all do as a Bitcoiners. But
Right.
there's one big, sort of warning, and that's exactly as you say. What happened in the past doesn't, predict any future trends. So
Yeah.
we, as a company, of course, planning is really important, but we also understand plans can be really wrong, and like you simply need some scenarios to build some production, to build a stock and some production processes on. But it's not the reality, and then we just look at certain metrics, and we kind of try to watch for where the market is headed.
Right.
That being said, usually, all-time highs were, I think, within the next year of basically from halving, right? So that's something we saw happen a couple times in the past. So we basically base our plans on that event as well. But again, with the caveat that maybe it's not, it might not be the case at all.
Yeah.
But also, I think we are now in bull market, right? Also boosted by the ETS and all these other events. And whenever Bitcoin price is pumping, our sales are pumping as well. There's like strong correlation.
Yeah.
That I think all the Bitcoin and crypto businesses can see it probably on their revenue as well. So that's not a surprise here. So we mainly, as a hardware company, as a hardware manufacturer, it is really important to have enough stock, and because like to build these products, it really takes a long time, and they're pretty long lead for all the components, and that goes into making these hardware wallets. So that is kind of heavy on the planning process, but we took it very seriously, and I think we are prepared for the next all-time high.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for this. Can you perhaps tell us where we can find you on social media, you and Trezor as well?
For sure. So Trezor, you can find us pretty much everywhere you would expect, from obviously Twitter, but also Instagram, LinkedIn, all these outlets. And for me, it's the same. I'm hanging out on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well.